Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
I'm Gaynor.
Hope everyone's okay. Just the two of us today.
Yes.
Yeah, Aidan was. He did make an appearance, and then he's gone back into his editing studio to get some more videos done. Bit of we've not done these for a while actually.
No, we haven't.
Bit of a world according to BRITS. Quite enjoy them actually because it gives me information about parts of the USA sometimes that we don't know about.
Yeah. Not
This
visited
is
yet.
10 US cities on the brink of disaster, experts warn. I think there's a lot of places where you look at Britain now. I'd take Britain. I know it's very different to the USA, size-wise and different sort of culture-wise as well. But when you look at certain cities now, a lot of people are moving away from them because number one, cost, and number one, just the issues that they're facing there, traffic, all kinds of stuff. And you can find work from home now. You can pretty much live anywhere you want. I think you were telling me yesterday something like someone got a job working from home and moved overseas. Yeah, so they're working from home in a warmer climate. Yeah, they're not just emigrated totally, but it's a good idea. But anyway, these are 10 US cities on the brink of disaster. Anything spring to your mind where you think, I can see that having an issue? I can't think of any that will come to my mind.
No, not really.
But you heard news about different cities all the time, and everyone's got their own opinion. I always think when you talk about, I saw a video the other day that someone sent me about how Britons think of America is, and it's like he gets up in the morning, there's a gun shooting outside. And then he drives to Miami. Yeah. And then has his lunch in Miami, like a massive lunch or something. Then he kind of drives to Los Angeles.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realise how vast it is and how
huge.
far it is. But a lot of Brits who have never travelled don't. They fly 2 hours to Spain and
I think that's the other side of the world.
Yeah, and then order all their English food instead of trying paella or anything.
Anyway, let's get into this. 10 US cities on the brink of disaster. Experts warn.
Let's face it, America is vast and diverse, from the sunny beaches of California to the dense forests of Maine. You've got plenty of options to pick your America. But some cities in the United States, they're a perfect example of what happens when urban planning and logic take a coffee break indefinitely. If you've ever wondered which urban jungles are more like urban dumpsters, keep watching. And yes, bring your sense of humor, you'll need it. America's the land of opportunity, apple pie, and apparently cities spiraling into chaotic dumpster fires. Whether it's sky-high housing prices, endless traffic, or a political scene that makes a middle school cafeteria look functional, these 10 US cities are out here doing the most to ensure that they become unlivable. Grab your overpriced latte and let's dive in, because if you're living in one of these places, you're probably only there because it's too expensive to flee. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Honolulu, Hawaii. Sure, Honolulu has beaches that look like they've been filtered through Instagram's finest presets, but good luck affording them. The median home price here is over $1 million, which is awesome if you enjoy working 3 jobs to pay rent in a studio apartment the size of a walk-in closet. For 80% of the American public, buying a home here is completely out of reach. So if you move here, you're probably going to be a renter. And that's assuming you can even find an apartment because, spoiler alert, there's a housing shortage here too. Let's not forget the cost of living on everything else. The shipping kills the cost of everything here. I mean, it's so high that spam has become a delicacy in Hawaii. And traffic, imagine paradise, but instead of sipping Mai Tais by the ocean, you're stuck in gridlock on H1, questioning your life choices. The only escape is the beach, but good luck finding a parking spot there. Aloha indeed. All the things that are going to get worse in Honolulu are the traffic. It's just going to get worse. Cost of living is still going to climb probably over the next 5 or 6 years with no sign of plateauing or leveling out, whatever you want to call it. And of course, home prices are expected to continue to climb over the next decade.
Never fancied it.
No, me neither. Funny enough, it's one of them. We've got friends there as well, haven't we, in Hawaii? And it's one of them places where it's just, I don't know, it's just never appealed to me.
No, I remember looking and thinking, I'd love to go, but I'm not a beach person.
No, we're not, are we?
I much prefer, the mountains.
I was sat yesterday in a taxi going to. We went to see Mickey Flanagan yesterday. I was sat in a taxi and the traffic was shit. It was just proper shit. It was just busy. Every corner you turned was just a jam. Yeah. And it took us ages to get 2 miles. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, at what point do you sort of say enough now? Yeah. I'm gonna swap or trade or what's the word I'm looking for? Compromise. The stuff I love doing because I love going to the sports stadium. I love going to the comedy shows. I love going to things like that. But I need to go this route. This is the only route I can take. Yeah. Right through the centre of Manchester. Yeah. And the traffic is just constantly fucking nuts. Yeah. And then we went to New York and the traffic was nuts. Yeah. Then you got Philadelphia, the traffic was nuts. Yeah. And I'm like, where's the compromise? Where does it start and stop? that you think, you know what, I've had enough of this, and I don't need the beach, I don't need this. I can sit here and there'll be no traffic, or there'll be little traffic, minimal, but I can still go to the pub, I can still watch the football on the TV maybe, or you know, but I still miss going to the stadium. I know I would.
Yeah.
Miami. Probably the same reason.
Number 9, Miami. Miami is great if you love humidity, overpriced everything, and the constant fear that your house will be claimed by rising sea levels in 200 years or so. The real estate market here is so inflated, it makes the tech bubble of 2000 look like a clearance sale. The median rents have skyrocketed to over $2,500 a month, which is cool if you enjoy splitting a one bedroom with 4 roommates and a colony of cockroaches. And speaking of water, Miami floods when someone spills their water bottle, it seems like. King tides, hurricanes, and a complete lack of planning mean you'll be kayaking to work sooner than later. Sure, the city has plans to pump water out, but with Miami's infrastructure, don't hold your breath. Unless, of course, you're underwater, then please hold your breath. And for all of you that are about to leave a comment about how the water's not rising, the oceans aren't rising, it's called climate change. Nobody doubts it happens. It happened before. Ever heard of the Ice Age? It's a real thing. The only thing up for debate now is, are humans affecting climate change this time around? And is it going to happen next year or the following year? No. It's not. It's going to be 200-300 years before any real damage is done. If you don't believe waters rise, keep in mind they found sea creature fossils in Iowa and Nebraska from the last ice age. Now, that's not a political conversation. I know some people want it to be. It's a science conversation. Then there's the nightlife in Miami. It's fun until you realize you spent $25 on a single mojito. Yeah, going out in Miami is brutally expensive. One of our subscribers took a client. He flew down to Miami, took a client out to dinner, trying to smooze him. He's from Minnesota. When he got back to work, his bosses had some questions for him. He said, no, that's how much it costs to take a guy out to dinner and get him some drinks. So why is Miami becoming unlivable? It's the price. The price is terribly expensive on everything from housing to mojitos. Their infrastructure is horrible too, especially with things that are on the horizon for the city.
Kind of expected this
San
on the
Francisco,
list.
California. The only surprise here is it's not further down on the list, but I think they've kind of turned a corner and they can't get much worse, I guess is what it is. San Francisco is home to tech billionaires, urban pharmaceuticals, and sidewalk bathrooms. And before you say anything, San Francisco isn't the only place where people are dropping deuces on the sidewalk. Every city that has homeless has that problem. And guess what? Every city in the United States has homeless people. The median home price here is around $1.4 million, which is fantastic if you're an AI startup founder, but tragic if you are a normal human being. The homeless crisis in San Francisco is impossible to ignore, mainly because you'll likely step over someone's makeshift tent on your way to your local sandwich place. The city's attempts to fix this, let's just say they're about as effective as a hockey goalie made out of cotton candy. Then there's their public transportation. Hope you enjoy waiting for the BART, which is either late, broken, or filled with unique characters who will make you question the meaning of life. If you do manage to get on, try not to think about the fact that it smells like a combination of mildew and regret, with a hint of desperation.
I said this yesterday about coming out of Manchester, and someone said, why don't you just take the tram? And I said, if you've seen the tram coming out, if you put animals in the tram, packed in like humans were packed in, you'd have an issue.
Yeah.
You'd have all of the animal rights protesters and all kind of bollocks coming after you because the way you treated them. But it's all right to treat humans by shoving them. I got on a couple of weeks, last week, coming out of the game, and I was only going 2 stops, and I was late coming out of the game. I stayed for a couple of hours, and I was walking down, and I thought no one will be on the tram, so I got on with Aiden. It stunk as shit. It was wet. It was like damp on the tram. And it was just like stunk, and everyone was jammed in still, and I was just like, forget it. No. And the guy said, you're not paid us. I'm not paying. This ain't something I'm paying for. This is just I need to go there.
Yeah.
And I'm not, it's just, I'd walk.
Yeah.
But it was pathetic.
Yeah.
And I think that's that, for me, I'm just like, no, don't want to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So how's it becoming unlivable? Well, there's the homeless. It's not going to get better anytime soon. Their stretched public services is like epidemic level. Of course, the cost of living and housing. It's just too expensive. None of that's going away anytime soon.
Phoenix.
Number 7, Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix is rapidly growing, which is cool if you like 110-degree weather and paying California-level prices for a life that isn't near the beach. Housing costs have surged by 25% in recent years, leaving locals wondering if they're better off living in their cars, I mean if the AC still works, or actually renting a place. Heat is not just a summer thing here, it's year-round. It's like a bad relationship. Monsoon season provides occasional relief, but also comes with flooding that'll sweep away your optimism along with your car. Climate change? Phoenix laughs in the face of it, but it's more of a nervous, sweaty laugh because the city's running out of water faster than you could say that used to be the Colorado River. And of course the traffic. With all the snowbirds and Californians moving in, the roads are a daily nightmare. Phoenix is like come for the sunshine, stay for the dehydration. So why is it so bad? The heat is just brutal. And of course the cost of everything else, housing and cost of living, it's all going up there. And it's not going to slow down.
We'll be retiring there then.
No, it's not. I've never fancied it, to be honest.
No.
But it's certain Phoenix wasn't. It's never been like on me. It's too hot. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know for things for whatever we wanted to do. But when you look at certain places you go, it's always I always find that the outskirts, the like the suburbs, are a little bit more appealing than what they are sort of like in the big cities.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in a big city, you've got all that sort of like that comes with it. Unless you live there and you can walk to where you need to go, and then you're back onto. But even then, it's the same story around the world. You go to anywhere around the world, and everyone's moaning about the cost of living, the value of real estate, the busyness of the traffic, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Number 6, New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans is a cultural gem, but living here, it's a different story. Gentrification has driven housing costs sky high, pricing out the very people who make the city special. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment is now $1,600. Now, if you're in New York City or Los Angeles, San Francisco, you just said, that's affordable. Well, not in New Orleans. I mean, 4 years ago, that same apartment was probably going for $1,100. And 10 years ago, it was probably going for $850. Those aren't exact numbers, but you get the idea. All that's a far cry from the charm of affordable living the city used to offer. Add to the constant threat of hurricanes, and you've got a recipe for stress. After Hurricane Katrina, you'd think the city would have leveled up its flood defense. But no, every storm season feels like a game of Russian roulette with nature. Public services? Let's just say they're about as reliable as a Mardi Gras hangover cure. If you don't mind potholes the size of small craters and power outages every time someone sneezes too hard, then New Orleans might just be for you. And I really didn't even focus on the crime on this one. That's another problem they have. So why are they becoming unlivable? Well, the list is long, but I would say the major ones are the cost of living are going up, and their public services are stretched to the limits with all the road work that needs to be done, all the infrastructure upgrades that have, and of course, their police are terribly underfunded. There's definitely some cities in this country that the police and the law enforcement need a pay raise. New Orleans is like the poster child of it right now.
I think with New Orleans, it's one of them places where it's very cultural and it's got a lot of history that goes with it, and a lot of like French sort of like side of it that comes with it. But I think it's a big tourist spot as well. It's got everything you need to go there. But I think when you go in there and you go in like on the Mardi Gras and stuff like that, I think it's very appealing to people all over the world. Everyone wants to go to like the Rio Carnival or the New Orleans Mardi Gras, or these certain things around the world that people all want to go to.
Yeah,
Mardi Gras is one of them.
But the problem is when you get that, it's a lot of crime, and then it.
Yeah, you do.
But you don't.
But you're only there for a week or a few days. You're not there for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
But the price of the rents, what they're saying there. That's kind of probably not too dissimilar to Manchester, I would say.
I would say Manchester more now.
Yeah, one-bedroom apartment in Manchester, you're probably paying about £2,000 minimum.
Yeah.
So it's probably, what's that, about $2,300 for a one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
And that'd be tiny as well. Yeah. But they are sort of like ploughing loads of real estate into Manchester now.
Yeah.
High-rises are going up everywhere.
Yeah.
Number 5, Los Angeles. Living in LA is a dream if your dream involves paying $3,000 for an unlivable apartment and spending half your life on the 405 freeway. The city's traffic is legendary and not in a good way. Your daily commute will feel like an extended meditation session, except with honking, road rage, and exhaust. Housing's one of their biggest problems. You can forget it. The median home price if you want to buy a home is around $900,000. So unless you're a Kardashian or a Marvel superhero, you're out of luck. Renting isn't much better, with the prices so high that you'll start Googling how to live in a van, like Alyssa Vanilla. Matter of fact, that's what she did. She was living in North Hollywood, I think North Hollywood, or anyway, the Hollywood area, and one day she got out of her apartment, started living in her van. Now she travels around the country. It's a pretty interesting little life she has there. And of course, there's the smog. Smog has gotten better since it hit its peak peak of suckage back in the 1970s. But it's still far worse than most other cities. Add in wildfires, earthquakes, and the ever-growing homeless crisis, and you've got yourself the full Los Angeles experience. So why is it unlivable? Well, there's a few reasons, but I would say the main ones are cost of everything, traffic, and homelessness would be the top three.
Seems to be a trend here.
Yeah.
Chicago.
What?
Number 4, Chicago, Illinois. Chicago's charm is undeniable. Deep dish pizza, stunning.
I love Chicago.
Yeah, I
It's one of my
as
favourite
well.
cities in the USA.
But then again, we only visited for a few days.
We've been a couple of times, haven't we? But it's when we have visited Chicago, it was like one of them cities where I just thought, really good city, good vibes.
Yeah.
Architecture and enough Midwestern niceness to almost make you forget that you're paying through the nose just to live there. The median rent for a one-bedroom apartment is now hovering around $2,000. Now, this is in the Midwest. It's theoretically not supposed to be that expensive. This isn't a coastal city. I mean, it's on the, Great Lakes, but, come on. Those are the rules of life in America. If you're on a coast, it's expensive. We accept that, we acknowledge it, but not when you're in the middle of America. It's supposed to be cheaper. City or rural town, it's supposed to be cheaper. And that's just the rent. There's the hidden fees of city living, like $10 beers at Wrigley Field. Let's talk about the weather. Summers are a humid mess of mosquitoes and sweaty train rides, while winters are Arctic hellscape where your face hurts the second you step outside. And if the cold doesn't get you, the potholes will. Yeah, their infrastructure is pretty rough there too. Every spring, the streets look like they've been carpet bombed by a fleet of angry meteorologists, just leaving potholes everywhere. Crime is another thorny issue in Chicago. While the Windy City isn't the Mad Max dystopia certain news outlets make it out to be, it's hard to ignore the city's ongoing struggles with violence and policing. Add in a budget deficit that could make a hedge fund manager weep, and you've got a city where the only thing rising faster than the rents is your blood pressure. So what makes Chicago unlivable? It's the weather, cost of living, and the crime.
Yeah.
That trend of what they're talking about here is that they talk about the road infrastructure, the cost of living. It's exactly the same.
Same here.
It is. I mean, the roads here are just atrocious. Nothing works here at the moment. Nothing.
No.
Everything's broke.
Yeah.
Number 3, New York City. Yes, New York City again. We've been talking about them a lot lately. It's the city that never sleeps. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. That's what they say. But make it increasingly means tolerating a shoebox-sized apartment that costs more per month than most people's annual vacations. The median rent in Manhattan has hit a staggering $4,300, which is great if you love ramen noodles and existential dread. Of course, public transportation is legendary in New York City, and not for any good reasons. Although it is better than, let's say, the 1970s and 80s, it's still a nightmare with all kinds of freaks and weirdos on there. I was on there a couple months back. I thought to myself, why am I doing this?
That's what makes New York, though, for me.
Yeah,
the freaks
does.
and the weirdos. It's just the whole vibe of the place is what makes it.
Yeah, but if you can ignore it, but if you're on the way to work and you've got to wait for like half an hour or something, and then some weirdos like talking to you constantly,
Yeah, you just
get
ignore them.
sick of
Just
it.
put your headphones in. That's what headphones are for.
Yeah.
I like making YouTube videos, but I don't like being this uncomfortable. A lot of people will take a taxi, but if you're going to do that, feel free to take out a second mortgage to cover all the fares every year. And of course, don't forget the sheer hustle of it all. In New York City, everything's a competition. Jobs, apartments, even who can walk faster without making eye contact. Yeah, that's a skill there. It's thrilling, but also exhausting, leaving most people wondering if the energy of the city is worth the toll it takes on your soul and wallet. So why is it becoming unlivable? The cost of everything, and it's overcrowded. Yeah, these are things that have been problems there since forever, but for some reason it seems to be getting worse.
Yeah.
Love it.
Seattle, once a haven for grunge bands and affordable living, has transformed into a tech-driven nightmare, where rent prices have skyrocketed faster than Jeff Bezos' rockets. The median home price is well over $800,000, and median rent is over $2,500. And don't even think about buying coffee. It's basically a month's utility bills. Of course, there's the weather. If you're going to move here, you better be ready for some rain and the occasional snow. Rain is a constant. Now, summers are beautiful and they're wonderful. Been there a few times during the summer. I love them. The winters and the fall, and even part of spring, it's just wet all the time. So if you move here, you better like your indoor hobbies. Traffic is brutal. Thanks to an influx of transplants and inadequate infrastructure, Seattle's roads are in a constant state of gridlock. Public transportation is improving, but it's still about as reliable as the Mariners making the playoffs. But hey, at least you get a good view of Elliott Bay and Mount Rainier, right? That is when they're not hidden by the clouds or fog. So why is it becoming unlivable? Well, it's the cost of living on everything pretty much is getting worse, and it's going to continue to get worse. And of course, there's the traffic, followed by weather. All right, before we get to number...
Where do you think number one is?
Is he going to give us honourable mentions first?
one,
Let's see.
if you're thinking about moving to another state or city, there is a link in the description area below for Home and Money. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country. All right, on to number one.
I'm going to guess at it's going to be Baltimore.
I was going to say Boston.
No, Boston's mint.
Yeah, I know it is.
Pretty. I think Boston's on the right lines from what I can gather. I read up on Boston not long ago, and I think its crime's real low. I think the Boston police have got it all set up over there, sorted out. I don't know if they finished them roadworks on the is it 678 or whatever it goes down there, whatever it's the road. I can't remember what the name of the road is, but it's they had roadworks there for years. If you remember when we used to drive up there, it was like constant roadworks. But I think Boston have got it all organised. Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't. It might be. I mean, I wouldn't guess Boston. I would say either somewhere like Baltimore or maybe Portland. Portland gets a bad rap, doesn't it? But
what about Motor City?
Detroit.
Yeah.
Could be. Good shout. Portland.
And number one, Portland, Oregon. Yes, my home city. Well, I live about, 20 miles outside of Portland, but I still fall into the metro area. Portland has long been a quirky indie darling of American cities, but these days it's more like an overpriced episode of Portlandia gone wrong. The median rent here is pushing $2,000, which is fine if you're some sort of kombucha mogul, but less so if you're, let's say, a teacher or a nurse. The city's infamous homeless crisis is impossible to ignore. While officials argue over solutions, residents deal with encampments in park streets and even on bike paths. Speaking of bikes, Portland's bike-friendly reputation is great if you don't mind dodging potholes, homeless people digging through trash cans, and anything else that might be laying in the road. Let's not forget about the protests. While Portland's activist spirit is admirable, the near constant demonstrations and clashes with law enforcement can leave even the most progressive residents feeling kind of drained, which it is a little much sometimes. Now, we're about to have a new mayor in Portland, and he makes all kinds of promises, and I hope for the best. Over the last few months, or I'd say last year, I've seen it get better downtown, but it's a far cry from what it once was. They've got a lot of work to do. There's all kinds of promises being made, but I think as they transition, it's going to get worse before it gets better. So I think in the next 2 years, you're going to have more problems here than we got right now. But hopefully, if all works out, 2 years after that, it might get better. I'm not holding my breath though. I hope, but I'm not too enthusiastic about Portland's future, at least the immediate future. So why are they unlivable? It's the homeless, it's the price, it's the weather, it's the crime now too. You name it, Portland's got it.
Yeah, good one that.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that the same problems are pretty much
over.
global.
Yeah.
They're pretty much everywhere around the world. But it's funny seeing, like I say, the same what you're talking about there in the big cities, the same as what we have in the big cities over here, even the protesters.
Yeah.
Miami I didn't think would be on there. I knew it'd be expensive, Miami. I've been to Miami. I like Miami.
Do you know what I found is the places that are warm, they get a lot of homelessness because obviously...
Yeah, it's easy for them to live there, isn't it? Yeah. But the homelessness, when we went to Philadelphia, the homelessness kind of like sprang out a little bit there. I seem to see more of it in Philadelphia than they did in New York. Yeah, but then again, we did a lot of walking around New York, but it's I guess there's more places for them to hang out in New York than there is in Philadelphia. Yeah. But Philly, it just seems to be wherever they stopped, that's where they were lying. Yeah. There was no like in the doorway or anything, it was just in the middle of the sidewalk or wherever it was. Yeah. But Philly was a good city. I quite enjoyed Philadelphia. But there's loads of cities. I mean, Chicago, I think Chicago, it's a bad rap, but again, it's one of them places we wouldn't live there.
It's too hot in the summer and too cold in the winter.
Yeah, but we'd visit there. Yeah. And then maybe, even if any of these big cities, I don't think we'd live in a big city. No. I think we'd live in the outskirts, in the suburbs. Yeah. In the suburbs, yeah. Because otherwise you'd be working in them big industries, and that's just not for me now anyway. No. But I've done that. Won't be any more of that. No. But it's good to know what's going on though in the USA. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you on the next one.
Bye.
Cheers.